Okay, it is time to talk trade deadline, and the White Sox are in the center of it all in Major League Baseball. And we've got ESPN's Jesse Rogers. Jesse, are you ready for what might transpire for the next week? It's going to be crazy, certainly with the White Sox.
Absolutely. I'm not at guaranteed rate every day, but I will be on July 30th. That's for sure, because and the days leading up to it, those last 48 hours are going to be interesting, just like they were last year. Chris Getz, obviously open for business, is willing to strip the roster down and start over. So we haven't even seen the bottom yet for the White Sox. I would assume this would be kind of the last year he would hope, I think, to trade like he's going to potentially here, where you just, anything not tied down could be gone by the end of next week. So yeah, very interested to see what Chris Getz does and how he moves this thing forward. I do like some of the things he's even done. The Dylan Cease trade is already paying off. I love Drew Thorpe. I loved him before he came up. I thought that was a great trade. I really did. So let's see what's next for him. But at least he got off to a good start with that deal.
Okay, before we talk about specifics, here's what the White Sox need. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They need bats in the biggest way. Okay. As we tape this, they have scored 316 runs. They're in last place in the majors by 30 behind the Marlins. And then the next team has like 40 runs more than the Marlins do. They're averaging 3.5 runs per game. If the season ends like that, 3.5 runs per game, it'll be the lowest a team has scored on average since 1914 in all of baseball. Jesse, that was the dead ball era when no one was scoring in baseball. And the White Sox are basically playing in the dead ball era at a time when there is no dead ball era. They are a dead ball era team. My question for you is, are teams willing to trade big time bats in their system? Because it seems like they're more willing to trade pitchers, but they're really hanging tight, wanting to hold on to their hitters. Could you see that changing with what the White Sox are offering?
The short answer is yes. And the reason that there's optimism, if you're a Sox fan, in terms of what you're talking about, is the teams that are involved. You have the big boys interested. The Yankees, the Dodgers. Don't count out Dave Dombrowski, even though he's got the best team in the National League. He's not the type to sit on his hands either. You have motivated teams, varying degrees of farm system rankings. But look, every farm system has a player or two or three. Like, you just got to go get them. I do know the Yankees, for example, have two hitters, Spencer Jones, Jason Dominguez. Internally, they're split on which player is going to have a better career. Who knows? They're both pretty big time prospects. You just don't know what the next 10 years is going to bring. So let's just assume they're about equal. I absolutely think they would trade one of them for a home run deal that they think would put them over the top. They want to win the World Series. You don't need to hold on to two outfield prospects when you're trying to win the World Series. So that's a great example of a team that I think would trade a hitter. I think the Dodgers would as well. I don't know their system as well, but I know there's a couple good hitters there. So yeah, my short answer is yes. I think you can get a hitter from another team's system. And just a tangent, that's why I was a little surprised they drafted Hagen Smith instead of Caglianone. I really was. I get that there's a rhythm, there's a method, there's a rhythm to this thing. They've been doing well with left-handed, but if you left-handed college players, but if you believe that college players are more ready than ever these days, then why not take the hitter? Now, look, they have two Golden Spikes winners on their roster in Vaughn and 10 years. So maybe they just feel like they do better with pitching in the draft. But man, the number 5 pick, they could have really helped their hitting base. They chose the other way.
Here's my theory on why they didn't take Caglianone, and also why I don't think they would necessarily acquire or want to acquire Spencer Jones from the Yankees, because they're kind of the same thing. They're big hit and miss guys. They don't draw a lot of walks. They strike out a lot. And I feel like the Sox are like, okay, we tried that and it didn't work. Luis Robert Jr., it's become Eloy Jimenez. It's become Yoan Moncada when he's out there. Tim Anderson, Jake Berger. This doesn't work in today's game. And so did you see Bob Nightingale's report that he says that the Yankees are now willing to trade Spencer Jones in a deal for either Skubal or Crochet, and the White Sox, according to Nightingale, said, yeah, we want more than that.
Yeah. I'm not surprised they want more than that. I get it. It's a prospect versus now a proven starter that has 2 years left. But I don't think you beggars can be choosers. You're trying to influx your, bring some players into your system. Here's the other thing. If you're Gets, it has to be quantity and quality, because I don't know if Bob was insinuating the Yankees wanted a 1-for-1 deal. Why would the Sox do that? Because once you trade Crochet, you're trying to replace him. But if you trade Crochet for 3, one of them might be a Crochet, one of them might be the next great hitter, and you get 6 years of control out of all of them. That makes sense. So no, Spencer Jones for Crochet is not enough. Absolutely not. It has to be quantity plus quality if Getz is going to pull the trigger.
Yeah. Or maybe he was saying, the Yankees were offering these 3 players plus Spencer Jones.
Okay.
And the White Sox said, yeah, we want even more than that. Because I looked at Jones, and this is a guy who is 6'6", left-handed, an outfielder. He's got speed. He steals bases. But I looked at his numbers in June when the Yankees were not willing to trade him. He had, in 26 games, he had 6 homers and 29 RBIs, 44 strikeouts. In July, so far, he has 1 home run and 2 RBIs.
Yeah.
So if you're a White Sox scout watching him, you're like, well, you know what? Maybe we pump the brakes on Spencer Jones for the moment.
Yeah, it's possible that you and I are not experts in that. Like, that's the scout's job. They've got to get it right. And you just have to, like, I can't judge what a scout's seeing. We're not at these minor league games. Numbers can be deceiving. Sometimes they're telling. So I'm with you. I rely on experts, farm prospect experts, those kind of guys and scouts. And over the last year or two, Jones and Dominguez have been their best couple prospects, but that's just on paper. So there's no guarantee they're trading Robert and Crochet. You just have to listen. You keep listening. And then I just think that the motivated teams are what tells me there's a good chance, because it is the Dodgers, Yankees, and the big boys like that. And Baltimore has a great farm system, although they like to hold on to their prospects. So there's enough good prospects and or motivated teams. I think Getz should do okay.
Yeah, I mean, the Orioles seem to be the team with the greatest match, but we said this all offseason about Dylan Cease. They've got the hitters the White Sox need. They need pitching. The Sox have Fedde and they've got Crochet, but Mike Elias has never traded any of his top hitting prospects. Do you think he'll finally break through and do it this trade deadline?
I'm going to say no, but I could be wrong, obviously. But I'm going to say no. I think he wants as many kicks at the can as he can, and holding on to his. They're going to get into the playoffs, right? So I think he just wants to. I mean, they'll add something, but the big deal for Jackson Holiday or Mayo, no, I don't think that's going to happen. It's going to be interesting because there aren't that many sellers. So this is where Getz can really, if he can hit a home run, if he can hit a home run. Dylan Cease was interesting because Corbin Burns, Dylan Cease, kind of similar, right? I was curious, he got Drew Thorpe. I think that's the better deal, but Joey Ortiz and D.L. Hall on Milwaukee is a pretty good deal too. So that's something to keep an eye on. Like, what's his style? What's he looking for? And in that case, he looked for a top pitching prospect, and he got one. Baltimore gave up a pretty good hitting prospect in Joey Ortiz, but he wasn't one of their best. So that's why I liked what Getz did in that moment. He held out for a better package. I think he got one because Drew Thorpe, I think, would be better than anyone else the Brewers got.
Yeah, it's amazing. Drew Thorpe in 5 consecutive starts has pitched at least 6 innings, has given up 2 runs or less, 3 hits or less. He's the only White Sox pitcher to ever do this. Can you believe that? The only one in the history of the franchise, 124 years.
And he's a baby, just starting his career. So that changeup is real. So look, there's something brewing on the mound for sure. They have done well with pitchers. The irony of this season, I mean, this is amazing, is what you said earlier. They have all their position players back, and they've completely underachieved there. They turned over their entire pitching staff, and all of a sudden, they have a ton of pieces other teams want. Flex and Fedde, maybe Kopech. It's and obviously Crochet. It's crazy how you can have a new pitching staff and have the kind of success.
I want to ask you about what you're hearing from scouts. What are scouts telling you about the White Sox?
Yeah, it's going to be a feeding frenzy. I mean, that's the weird part. For the second year in a row, there are parts that people want. I mean, Tommy Pham. I was joking with the Diamondbacks, like, are you going to trade for him again? I was over there and talking to their people, and they were like, we love Tommy Pham. Who knows? So he's going to fit somewhere for someone, maybe Philadelphia, to be honest. He'd fit perfect in that locker room. Fedde is very interesting to the mid-market teams because of his paycheck, only $7.5 million, and you get him for next year. So Milwaukee, even Cleveland in the division, I don't think Getz would hesitate to trade in the division. So I see him going to a mid-market team unless one of the major ones blows him away because they like Fedde so much and they give him a better prospect. But I think his best bet is probably mid-market. And then, of course, they're asking me about Crochet and his innings limit and all that stuff. And, I've been telling people, I think, look, not everyone's built the same. This guy's big and strong. Who's to say he can't push it to 150, 160, whatever the case may be? And maybe you do limit him if you have something locked up late. One thing I know teams are telling me is they don't want to shut him down for a month and bring him back. Like, that's not going to happen. It just might be limiting him, maybe some bullpen stints, but keep him active enough that you could start him. It's a tough needle to thread there, but you get him for 2 more years after this. I mean, even, if the Yankees threw him in the bullpen as a left-handed guy, it'd still be really valuable this year. So I still think the value's there, though teams are going to say, well, I'm not giving you the home run package you want because he's not going to start for us or something. They might portray that. So it's a little complicated, but I don't think it's all that hard to make that deal. So, and then there are teams, definitely Luis Robert. Absolutely. I don't know. I'd say it's 50-50 that they trade him. Mariners, Phillies, Yankees aren't done looking for a hitter if Rizzo and Stanton don't recover in time. Like, there's a market for hitters and pitchers that the White Sox are absolutely going to explore over the next 10 days.
Lots to unpack after what you just said there. All right, so starting with Crochet, I think he's a unicorn, like you said. He's not built like everybody else. No one expected him. I didn't expect him to do this in the first half of the year. He's already over 100 innings. He pitched 24 innings in the minors and majors last year and none the year before. And he's over 100 and he's showing no signs of slowing down. If I'm the Dodgers with a big lead in the division, they're making the playoffs. If I acquire Crochet, I'd put him in the bullpen for about a month and then build him up for the postseason. Build him up in September and then he's ready to go. That's one option I would do if I was the Dodgers.
I think it's a great point. They have some inventory there coming back from injury. They may not need him to pitch 6-7 innings down the stretch, like you said. Yeah, you can manage his workload, ramp him back up if needed, keep him ramped down if Clayton Kershaw comes back looking like Cy Young. Like, you have so many options if you're the Dodgers and you get other people healthy. And then he slides into your rotation next year and the next year after that, and you could sign him. Like, yeah, I think that's a great idea. If you have a big lead, I don't think the Phillies would be interested. They have so much pitching there. Like, you're not giving up that. But the Dodgers have uncertain pitching that's coming back. So, yeah, I'm with you. It's a great point. I've always thought he'd be the favorite there. To Crochet to the Dodgers would be my number one destination. I know other people have talked about big packages and all that stuff. And sometimes you do package 2 or 3, 2 guys, especially just because it's so hard to do 6 different deals. You do 3 deals, two players in each deal or something. So I think Crochet to the Dodgers would absolutely be my number one destination right now.
Yeah, and here's another report from Nightingale. The Dodgers have spoken to the White Sox about a blockbuster trade. Crochet and Robert and maybe even Kopech. I mean, could you imagine like your Chris Getz? You hear from Andrew Friedman. Yeah, I'm interested in Crochet and Robert. I mean, what would that be like? I'd be like, can I have Ohtani for them?
Give me your entire AAA roster. I mean, I just is Andrew Friedman really going to gut his farm system like that? I don't believe that. I don't believe that. I mean, when's the last time the top hitter and top pitcher got dealt in the same? Like, come on, it's pie in the sky. Not impossible. Nothing's impossible. I didn't think Seager and Simeon would sign with the Rangers in one offseason, but they did. But that would gut your farm system, and it doesn't feel like that's something the Dodgers would do.
I looked at the Dodgers farm system, and granted, yes, I'm not a scout, but I'm just looking at what they have, and they have the 8th ranked farm system according to MLB Pipeline. I think they only have 2 guys in the top 100, so it's not top heavy. It's just deep. Give me the studs. I want some studs in return for the White Sox studs, and they got to get it right. I mean, I'm going back to the Chris Sale trade that torched the rebuild. Torched the rebuild. Now, along the way, we were thinking, oh, this is a good trade. But now we look back on it, Moncada and Kopech, and that's it for Sale, who is at the peak of his powers. That ruined the rebuild, period. Because right now, what they were hoping to get was what everyone's expected from Yoel Moncada. He was supposed to be at his peak this year, an all-star, right? You're hoping to get an all-star for Chris Sale, and he's been in Arizona rehabbing for the last few months, and he's done nothing. How big is this trade deadline for Chris Getz?
Oh, it's huge. It's absolutely huge to reset your team. I mean, he's portraying it as big. Like a lot of us are like, keep Crochet, right? I mean, keep Luis Robert and keep him healthy too. But that's not his path. He wants to strip this thing down and start over. I mean, that's his choice. So he's made it huge for himself. And you bring up some good points about the Dodgers. You know, the Cubs made a trade with the Dodgers in the offseason, picked up Michael Busch, good-looking first baseman. Why? Because he was blocked by Freddie Freeman. Mm-hmm. That is a real thing happening there. I can't remember his name. There's a catcher that's being blocked by Will Smith in the Dodgers system. I think his stock came down a little bit. But there, you know, whoever's playing behind Mookie Betts isn't going to be there very soon. So there are some good players that are being blocked there that I think are more expendable to the Dodgers, but still really attractive to other teams. And that's how you can get a deal done, just like the Cubs did for Michael Busch. So it is a good trade partner in a lot of ways, but you can pit teams against each other. And, you know, I think Getz is sort of doing that. The thing I've heard about Getz is that he'll set his price and hold to it. So I just said something that I don't believe in, that you can play teams off each other. That's not his style, at least not yet. He is telling the Yankees what he wants, or will. Maybe he hasn't yet. I mean, maybe he has, whatever. But he's telling the Dodgers, or will, what he wants. And I don't think he'll go back and forth. That hasn't been his style. You can develop a sort of a negative rep. Now, if you've been doing it for 10 years, maybe it's different. You can do whatever you want. But I think as he develops his reputation, that's exactly what he did with Dylan Cease, and eventually the Padres matched it. So as much as I just said he could play teams, I don't think that's his style right now. It's this is what I want, this is what I want, this is what I want. Whoever says yes first gets the deal.
Yeah, the things that I've heard so far is that the Padres were really in on Crochet. They offered a lot, but not enough. I've heard that the Phillies have discussed the idea of Fedde and Crochet, not to trade for both of them, but they're like, what do we do? They've done some homework on both of those guys. I think Fedde's the right fit for the Phillies, and the Phillies already have great pitching. But like, if I'm the Phillies, I'm like, you know what? You're not only just acquiring a guy like Fedde, you're preventing Fedde from going to other National League teams potentially. So it's like a win-win, and that's how I like that you brought that up. That it's like all these big market teams need pitching, and if they don't get what they want, then their other team is going to get it. Right? They're all looking for the same thing. I think that helps the White Sox.
Yeah, and in Fedde's case, the market is much larger than even Crochet, because it's a smaller deal for a mid-market team. No one's going to – Milwaukee or Cleveland, they're not going to give that big package up. His payday is going to be huge soon enough. But for Fedde, that's a different story. So I don't disagree with you. Dombrowski, instead of adding some big payroll and some big – Fedde. Taijuan Walker's been hurt. I mean, look, once August comes, how do you replace Ranger Suarez if he gets hurt, or Nola or Wheeler? You always want someone in the wings there. So yeah, I could see Philadelphia being interested, but so will the mid-market teams.
I'll tell you what the smartest move a team will make. A smart acquisition, maybe the smartest acquisition for a pitcher, will be whoever gets Fedde. Now, I don't know what they're going to be giving up, but here's a guy who is 7-3 on a team that is 47 games under 500. I've watched every pitch he's thrown. He's got 2.99 ERA. He has 4 no decisions where he gave up 1 run or less. He could be 10-3, 11-3 on a team that is, again, 47 games under 500, and he's making $7.5 million next year. That's a very sleuth acquisition to get Fedde, in my opinion. I mean, Crochet's got the big spotlight, Tariq Skubal, big spotlight, but Fedde is the one where it's like, if you get Fedde, you're getting someone, and you know how many innings he's going to be able to throw. I mean, assuming he stays healthy, you don't have the innings question with him as you do with Crochet. So when this is all done and we look back on the moves and the trades and who the White Sox get, I'll be interested to see who got who and what the White Sox got in return, for sure.
The Milwaukee Brewers were the number 1 team on my list for Fedde. That's through sources and stuff. Now, they traded for Aaron Savali, so I don't know if that's changed. I don't think so. I think they need even more than that. Fedde, that feels like a Brewers trade.
Yes, it does. It so does.
It feels like a Brewers trade to be had. So I agree with you. And then we haven't even talked about Michael Kopech. I'm not going to say the teams, but I've had scouts ask me, I'll just say big market scouts ask me, do you think he can handle our city, our team? And I said, I'm going to be honest. What I've told them is I don't think necessarily for the 9th inning. But look, if you're one of these big boys, you're probably not trading for him to pitch in the 9th. You're trading to move him down inventory. He could be a great 7th or 8th inning guy, a little less pressure. And, can he handle a big market? Maybe in that role.
Chicago is a big market at last check.
True, but in a contending situation,
right.
But not as a closer. It's the first year. Let's say that's asking a lot. So I've had teams ask, but they're definitely asking for the 7th or 8th inning. So not possible. That immaculate inning, I got texts the next day. So that's a good time of year to have an immaculate inning when scouts are watching you. So it's interesting.
Yeah. The Cardinals are interested in Fedde, but the Brewers thing is really interesting. And what the Brewers have showed me is that this was not, clearly, I'm not a genius here. It didn't matter who the manager was, clearly, because Council goes to Chicago. It is the front office. The Brewers front office is the story. They know what they're doing, and they're the masters of the trade deadline moves. They're always shuffling the deck, making these crazy trades. At the time, you're giving up, Josh Hader. What are you doing? Are you trading Corbin Burns? What are you doing? Oh, this is what you're doing. And here they are back in first place again with a new manager.
Amazing. And basically they've turned over even the front office. David Stearns handed it off to Matt Arnold.
Correct.
Council handing it off to Pat Murphy. So the way people ask me, and my expert opinion is there's something in the water up there. I can't explain it exactly. It's not it's not a roster of stars. There's a couple. William Contreras has turned into one. Yelich is a kind of return to prominence, but Cardinals and Fedde also seems like a deal to be had too, by the way. That's a good call. I could see that as well. So that's why I feel like the mid markets for Fedde feel right. Not to say the big markets wouldn't take him either, because like you said, cheap pitching is hard to come by, cheap good pitching. So all of it's very interesting. And in hindsight, we'll analyze this thing, but hopefully it's the last year the Sox are selling off like this.
Well, there's nothing. They'll be selling left. Carcass.
Right.
Everything's been traded by now. Here, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up, because I put this together. Who have the White Sox traded since last year's deadline? Okay, here we go. Lucas Giolito, Ronaldo Lopez, Lance Lynn, Kendall Graveman, Joe Kelly, Keenan Middleton, Jake Berger, Gregory Santos, Dylan Cease.
9 players.
Yeah. They said goodbye to Tim Anderson, Liam Hendricks, Yasmani Grandal. They might trade Crochet, Robert, Kopech, who have been on the team for a while. There's obviously Pham and Fedde. This is their first year with the team. They also said goodbye to Elvis Andrus. After this season, Moncada gone, Jimenez gone. So the only ones who will be left from the 2021 division-winning team will be Andrew Vaughn, Gavin Sheets, and you can include Danny Mendick and Jimmy Lambert, who are in the minors, and Lambert's rehabbing in the minors. That's it. That was 3 years ago.
Incredible turnover. It just it blew up on them. They didn't finish that rebuild, all sorts of things. We've talked before about it, Chuck. It just fell apart quickly there. But I do like Getz's style. I do like his MO. It's just going to take time. It's going to take time.
But we thought it was not going to take that much time. That was at least what we were told. This is going to take some time, right?
I'm not sure what. Sorry, it froze up. I'm not sure what Jerry saw in the quick fix after those trades. You can't turn over your entire pitching staff and think you're going to compete. So the moment they traded all those guys last year, it's like, well, unless you buy a pitching staff, even then it's probably not going to work.
Yeah, but you know what? I mean, I keep saying this on the shows. The pitching staff, the starting rotation, that is a wild card, potentially division-winning pitching staff right now. Granted, if you trade Crochet and Fedde, okay, well, then you're not going to have that anymore. But you can win a division with that starting rotation. It's the offense that is just light years away from being anything that's competitive.
Yeah, I mean, let's look at the other way. What if you kept Crochet? You kept Fedde? Maybe, obviously Drew Thorpe. Flexen's been good, but we're not going to think of him as a long-term. I mean, Hagen Smith is around the corner.
Cannon's good.
A Cannon, right.
And they got a lot of good young pitching in the minors.
The double-A guys. Like, if starting pitching is the most important part of your team, the White Sox, if they keep their guys, have a shot. Now, they may have to go out and buy some hitters or stuff. You want the hitting and the pitching to kind of match up. So it's not like this goes back to what we said, like Chris Getz and Jerry Reinsdorf are choosing this direction. They have two key guys that are under contract or under team control in Crochet and Robert. There is nothing written on stone. They have to go this way. They've portrayed that they will, and that's why I won't be shocked if they don't make one or two of these deals. But I think he's trying to hit a home run with motivated teams on the other side of the table. And the fact that, okay, maybe we are a little bit further from winning than we thought. So let's try to infuse our system with 3 good players for every one that we trade.
If they had a few hitters in the minor leagues who are like, you could see their futures, I don't think they'd be this aggressive.
Maybe
trying to trade away them. I just look in their system. It's not. You see what's going on offensively in the major leagues and what's going on offensively in the minor leagues. They need a big influx of hitters, and you said it. They drafted Hagen Smith. My guess is they will not only be trading for hitting. I could see them trading some of their young pitching for hitting.
My buddy Jeff Passan mentioned that, sort of their MO is to draft these pitchers and then trade for some hitters. It's, every team has different philosophies. Other teams would rather draft college bats. That's the most reliable acquisition you can make at the amateur level. But look, this could work as well. It's good to have good players. You figure it out later, right? Sort of thing. So that's exactly what Getz is probably going to do between now and July 30th. Just like Rick Hahn tried to do before, just gather as many good players and go from there. It just everyone has to accept the fact that it's another rebuild.
All right, a couple more things. Most untradeable player, not only on the White Sox, but maybe in all of baseball. I think his name is Eloy Jimenez.
I mean, it's either him or Moncada. Either him or Moncada.
Yeah, you're probably right. I mean, Eloy, his last 36 games. You want to guess how many RBIs Eloy Jimenez has in his last 36 games?
Well, you're giving me a hint, so I'm going to say 16.
5.
Oh, ouch. Ouch.
And now we're taping this on Monday. For all we know, he has a 4 RBI game. Right. I'm not expecting that. He's got 1 home run. He's got a 60% ground ball rate, and he's making $13 million.
Yeah, I mean, I think you would agree with this. I don't think his career is going to go another 8 years. The way he's even, he's talked about, I don't know if I can deal with these injuries, and he's not slugging the way he did when he first came up. This doesn't seem like a guy that's going to have a long career from this point on.
No. All right, 2 more things.
Mhm.
One is this. Let's make some predictions. Who gets traded on the White Sox and to where? Let's go.
Yeah. Crochet to the Dodgers.
Crochet to the Dodgers.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm gonna say Fedde to the Brewers. I'm gonna stick with that. My second team there would be Cleveland as a backup. Tommy Pham will get traded. I'm gonna say Philadelphia.
Philadelphia.
That's more of a guess than inside information or anything.
Okay.
Flexen will get traded. I don't know where.
How about Robert?
That's the one I'm hemming and hawing on. I'm going to say no. Now, a week ago, I would have been more adamant no. I just don't think he's going to do Crochet and Robert. I was saying that for a while. But I know teams are calling, and there's still some desperation out there. I mean, if the Mariners are not, I don't care that Julio Rodriguez, play the same. I don't care. The Mariners need hitting. Doesn't matter what position you put him at. Put him at DH. It doesn't matter. So there's so many motivated teams / desperate teams. I would not be shocked if Robert and Crochet are both dealt. 2 weeks ago, I didn't think it'd be both, but I'm wavering some. So, that's a bunch of players right there. I'm unclear about Kopech. I'd say probably.
Here's my feeling watching Robert, because I obviously watch every game, and the scouts are watching every game. When I watch Crochet, if I'm a scout, I'm going to say, not only do I want that, we need that. When I see Fedde, I'm saying, not only do I want that, we need that. When I watch Luis Robert Jr., I come away with, I want that. I don't know if we need that. And what I mean by that is, yeah, he gives you really good defense in center field. With runners in scoring position, he doesn't really deliver too often. He seems to me to be, he's not reaching his potential. And there's the question mark about his health. And it's just like, to me, there's more question marks because, like, for you to trade for Luis Robert Jr., not just trade for him, you're giving up a ton for him. Would you give up a ton for Luis Robert Jr.? What would you do?
It's funny you say that, because I, even last year when he had this great year, I was a little critical. The walk to strikeout numbers were so outrageous, the chase numbers. But look, beggars can't be choosers. He's still a great talent, had a great year. I understand where you're coming from. It all depends on what that other team is thinking. I mean, the Mariners are desperate for hitting, and they just lost a hold on the division. If they want to grab it back or have a shot at it, maybe you get. Also, maybe seeing Robert in a better lineup on a contending team will bring out the best in him. You just never know.
I think there's some truth to that.
Yeah.
Because I think he's got a big swing and miss. He's doing what Abreu used to do a lot, which is like, I got to do it all myself. I'm just going to chase.
Think about these lazy errors he's made in center. I don't think on a contending team he does. He makes those errors. I really don't. So I agree with you in some respects, but I also think that those kind of talents don't come on the market often, and there are some desperate teams that can't hit, Seattle being at the top of that list.
Okay. So my quick predictions, I say Crochet gets traded. I'll say he goes to the Padres. He'll join Cease, AJ Preller. He just, he's the big.
He's out there, yeah.
He's the big wild card here, and he did not, even though they got Cease, he did not give away his like top prospects in that trade. I mean, they're good ones. Drew Thorpe. I mean, Jairo Uriarte.
Yeah.
I think he's desperate.
You might be right.
He's a new owner. Like, he's like, I got to do something right now. So he's going to go get Crochet. I say Fedde to. I like
you
your
said
Brewers
Philly.
pick.
You said Philly.
Yeah. Okay. I'll go Phillies. If not Phillies, Cardinals. Robert stays. Okay. I will say Robert stays. Pham. Yeah, he's going back to the Diamondbacks. They're going to try to recreate the magic.
I love that idea, to be honest. I love
do
that
it again. Kopech to Kopech. The Orioles need a bullpen.
Yeah, I mean, you really want Kopech and Kimbrel on the same team?
Okay, maybe not.
That's like I said, if he can handle a big market, Boston or New York, potentially middle seventh inning type of thing, maybe.
Okay. Or maybe Fedde to the Orioles, but the Sox want hitters. They want hitters.
Yeah.
I mean, Kopech could go anywhere.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Paul DeYoung. I mean, I think he has value on some teams that have, worried about injury or whatever the case may be. Dodgers. I think I like DeYoung's swing. Why not? I like how he's performed offensively.
Not crazy about the strikeout to walk ratio, but I like the power.
Yeah,
and he's a good clubhouse guy.
Yeah.
Okay, one last thing.
Yeah.
All right, Bruce Levine was on the Score over the weekend, and he floated an idea as a possible next manager for the White Sox for next year. And the name he threw out there was Terry Francona. Do you think Terry Francona will come out of, I guess this is I don't know if this is officially retirement. He had some health issues. Do you think he would come back into the dugout? And how realistic? Obviously, he's got a history. He was the Birmingham Barons AA manager back in the day. He's got a connection with Jerry Reinsdorf. What do you think about that?
Well, the problem is the team is starting over and Francona is not starting over. So, I mean, could he do it as a favor to Jerry to right the ship a little bit? I suppose anything's possible, but I mean, he did walk away for health problems. He had a great gig in Cleveland. That team was good. He didn't walk away because they were rebuilding. I have no inside information, but I was around that team the last couple of years in the playoffs 2 years ago, and he was having all sorts of health problems. Now, maybe a year away is like Bruce Bochy, things get fixed. So I'd be very surprised. I'd be very surprised other than a favor. Of course, if there was a ready-made team, that might be a different story. Final pieces, Terry Francona. But for him to start over with a team that's starting over, be very surprising to me.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense that he wouldn't if he's coming back, he's like, okay, I got one last shot to win a championship, not a team that is starting over. So that makes sense. Hey, Jesse, by the way, we're having a special on-location edition of White Sox pregame live on Wednesday. Ozzy and I are going to be at the Whistle in Oak Lawn before the White Sox take on the Rangers. Everyone can come out and watch the pregame show. You are cordially invited, Jesse, to join us and watch us, maybe even have a drink, a non-alcoholic drink with us at the bar while we're doing the show.
So wait, that's this Wednesday while the team's on the road or next week?
Yes, the team's on the road, and we're doing our pregame show from the Whistle in Oak Lawn.
If I can make it, I will be there. But where will you be on trade deadline day? You doing the show from the park?
We should.
Yeah,
we should.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good point. Maybe we should. We're. I don't know where. We haven't talked about that. Maybe we should be at the park doing the show from there.
Then you can pull the player over. Isn't the deadline at 5 o'clock? I think it's at 5. You can pull the player over that gets traded, do an interview with him, and say goodbye. It's kind of so. It was a wild day last year. Remember Lance Lynn? It was crazy on trade deadline day. It's going to probably be the same this year for the White Sox.
I think you're in a way you're producing our show right now for the game.
Well, that's in my heart. Producing is in my heart, right?
Yes, yes.
There you go.
All right. Well, Jesse, thanks for the knowledge. I appreciate it.
Sure.
And we will see what happens and how many of our predictions come true. And if I don't see you before then, if I don't see you Wednesday at the bar, I'll see you hopefully Tuesday, trade deadline day. Thank you so much. We'll see you then.
There.
All right.
Anytime,
that's a wrap for this edition of the White Sox Talk Podcast. Hawk Harrelson, take it away.
Thanks, our Chuck. And this edition of the White Sox Talk Podcast is over.
Congrats, you finished the video. If you want to build on that success, download the NBC Sports Chicago app. It's got highlights, exclusive insights, and push alerts tailored to you. Everything you need to be a real Chicago sports fan. Download it now.